This movie was so bad that it made me want to start a YouTube channel. And I really don't know who this movie is for. I mean, even a 5-year-old watching this, like 3 minutes into the movie, you're going to know this isn't a Disney movie. I mean, you...
Have dialed has been changed.
Homeward was made by infamous mockbuster studio Asylum. You may have heard of Asylum from their hit classics such as Snakes on a Train, Battle Star Wars, Adventures of Aladdin, Independence Day, and Transmorphers. Now, a lot of people talk crap about Asylum, but I secretly think that they're geniuses. I really do think that they have skated the line. I mean, how are they still around? This movie came out like 4 months ago. They haven't been sued off the face of the earth by Disney or any other production studio. It's like they copy these movies to the point where they have plausible deniability in a court of law. Now, before I shit all over this movie, I do need to say, this movie was animated and directed by one guy, Michael Johnson, and he basically puts it in your face right at the end of the movie so that you feel bad for the lump of shit that you just saw. I'm not saying that one person on a low budget can't create amazing things. I know that there's amazing YouTube creators all around there and artists all over the place that don't have Disney money, don't have Pixar money, and they're able to pump out amazing content. This was a shameless cash grab. This was thievery at its most obvious.
This is a robbery.
Homeward was conveniently released on February 25th, exactly 1 week before Onward was released. And I am convinced that they wrote this entire movie off of the trailer that was released at the end of 2019, which means that they had exactly 2 months to release this movie. Now, this movie stars Joey Lawrence from some of my childhood favorites, Horse Sense and Jumping Ship. I'm sure you guys know those movies. And Tom Green is in this movie for some reason. Now, if you guys don't know Tom Green, he made an art house independent film called Freddy Got Fingered. Daddy, you want some sausage?
Daddy, would you like some sausage? Daddy, would you like some sausages?
So the movie starts off with this epic battle between orcs and elves, and you have this one orc called General Sharptooth, and he's trying to gather the the gemstone of the mountain. So we're introduced to this character that looks like she defected from the orcs and is helping the elves in defeating the Dark Lord. And for some reason, they have these elves T-posing over the battlefield. Wait a minute. I think I see the religious symbolism in this movie. Michael Johnson is surprising me. The more I watch this movie, the more I see what he was getting at. Either that or I'm going nuts. And what are these things? They just pop out of the ground with pots on their heads. I get it. You have General Sharptooth trying to go after the gemstone. You have the orc that defected that's meeting up with another elf that's doing some mumbo-jumbo spell.
Rubicon, Epsilon.
Because it's so powerful that you cannot break the gemstone without these magic spells. So, at one point, for some reason, the elf that's performing the incantation gets like a whole bunch of arrows volleyed at him at once.
Hurry! Keep chanting!
I can't. I'm done.
Didn't even get hit by an arrow. He wasn't hurt. The magic wasn't drained out of them because they get the magic from the magic sandbags of magic. Makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. She lifts up the axe to go break it, and she says one of the best movie one-liners that I have ever heard.
Hey there, Sharptooth. Time to split.
Hi, Boris.
Hi, Teddy.
So we're introduced to our main characters who are attending Elfdale High School. What an original name. Barl Lightspinner. Not to be confused with Barley Lightfoot from Onward fame. And it's pretty heavily implied that he's the only orc in the entire city of Elfdale, because later on you'll see that there's a whole city dedicated just to orcs, but we'll get to that. It's got a great name, by the way. I mean, you couldn't guess it even if you tried. So Barl is planning to prank his brother by dropping basically radioactive slime on him. I mean, it's almost like he's trying to turn his brother into the Joker. I mean the the character model does kind of look like Joaquin Phoenix if you really look at him with elf ears. So Lloyd makes his way to the gymnasium where his brother had set up the big barrel of radioactive slime to basically murder his brother. And they hilariously are trying to, set up the podium for the speech that Lloyd's going to give at the graduation. And they're just freaking slamming it back and forth and back and just slamming it as hard as they can. It's ridiculous.
Valedictorian speech?
Huh? It goes over here.
Here.
And obviously, you can see what happens next. It causes the radioactive slime to fall all over the gymnasium, and it is crazy how much slime falls out of this tiny bucket. And later we find out that it was only half of it. There's still another half barrel of radioactive slime somewhere above the gymnasium where a whole bunch of teenagers are about to graduate. I mean, that's great principling, Tom Green. So Barl gets expelled for, fratricide, attempted fratricide. And Lloyd is basically expressing his anger in the only way that he can, by flailing his arm about, So then Barl says,
"Well, unless you figure out how to magic me away, you're stuck with me."
You think that he's gonna use magic to get rid of his brother, but no, he decides to straight up kidnap his brother, and he tells him that it's a prank. Look at this kid's face. He looks like a straight up murderer. That is the last face you see before you die. Look at those eyes. Look at those dead eyes. And then his brother has no idea that this kid is about to murder him. Because for a minute, you're watching the movie and you don't know what his brother's going to do because he tells him that it's a prank, that he's driving him like 50,000 miles to go prank him. I guess that's the only way that he knows how to communicate with his brother, I guess, through really up pranks. Really sadistic pranks. And by the way, in the beginning of the movie, they say that when they destroy the gemstone, they're like, this is going to bring peace to orcs and elves for forever. And then you find out that the elves live in one city called Elfdale, and then the orcs live 200 miles away in New York City. And yes, it's called New York City. You didn't even try. Oh my God. Lloyd's plan to murder his brother is interrupted by these weird things that we are told they are frogs, but they're not frogs. They look like the Geico lizard. I thought they were going to be, and they had car trouble, so I thought they were going to be like, could switching to Geico really save you 15% or more on car insurance? So then these frogs that aren't frogs, I'm just going to call them lizard people, or reptilians. So these reptilians are on the side of the road because they have a flat tire, and Barl has the idea to use the magic sandbag to fix their tire. And just like I said in the beginning, in Onward, there's a part where they refill the car full of gas, and then they say that they want to make the gas tank bigger. They do the exact same thing here. The only thing is that they replace the gas tank with a tire. And one of the funniest things is that Lloyd fixes the tire with magic, right? So then they start driving off, and the car just yeets into the freaking air. And at first I was like, was it supposed to do that? Because I forgot that they were frog people. Then they stop at a motel to get some rest, and Barl is hungry. So for some reason, he steals Lloyd's magic sandbag, and he goes outside to use the vending machine. Now, something that I noticed here, and it really opens up a can of worms, and once again, I don't know if this was intended to open up a universe, or to world build, but the dollar that Barl uses has the face of George Washington on it. And it's not George Washington Elf or Elf George it's just George Washington. They photocopied a dollar and just put it into the freaking movie. And it says the United States of America. It doesn't even say Elfdale money. Then because he can't get any food out of the vending machine, he goes ahead and he walks down to a diner. And he runs into some shady characters, some real ne'er-do-wells, if you will.
Hey, watch where you're going.
Sorry, ma'am.
Ma'am, I'm not your grandma.
What?
And again, I have to think of the Onward trailer. There's biker fairies in the Onward trailer, and one of them has the spiky hair. Tell me that these two people are not based off of the same freaking character. But I digress. So we're introduced to Scrap, a possible love interest and a future sympathetic character that we can really see the orc side of things. And Barl is being picked on by these people, and they steal his wallet and they crush it up into this napkin holder thing. And Barl pulls out his magic bag of sand that he stole from his brother, and he's able to phase through the napkin holder and pull out his wallet, which amazed these bikers. But what's funny is that they weren't amazed like 3 seconds before when he stuck his hand into the magic bag and like half of his hand was through the actual bag, like not through the hole, but I guess it's not as impressive. So after revealing himself to be a magic user, one of the goons goes outside and calls his boss and tells him,
Hey, boss, I got what you're looking for.
Even though they weren't looking for anything, they were just kind of sitting around and messing around in a diner, harassing poor people. By the way, they piss off this Cyclops that's in the kitchen. And if you remember from the Onward trailer, they show that in a diner, working at a diner, there's a Manticore. And now we get a Cyclops. I mean, the subtle differences are very subtle, but they are there. Then Barl decides to leave with these bikers to New York City, leaving his brother behind. And Lloyd, who basically wanted to get rid of his brother for ruining his graduation, or fear of him ruining his graduation because of pranks, he just takes off back to Elfdale. And the thing that I thought would bring him back would be that his brother stole his magic sandbag so he wouldn't be able to perform his magic. But no.
No biscuits.
Could it have been brotherly love? No! There wasn't like a flashback of showing him a great time that he had with his adopted orc brother. He just freaking like 360s the car backwards, or I guess 180s, because 360 he would go the same way that he was going before. So then we finally make it to New York City, people. Is there a hit theme song to go along with this city? The answer is yes. So then we're introduced to our main antagonist, and he kind of looks like Dominic Purcell from the Arrowverse. I mean, if you just a little bit. And by the way, the villain is wearing football pads for some reason. I'd like to think that he was like a failed football player at Elfdale High School, and he was like one of these guys like, I would have gone pro if it wasn't for my bum knee. And I really don't remember his name, so I'm just gonna call him Thanos because, and I have to say this movie was based and written completely off of a movie trailer. So they had to sit down and figure out, what are we going to make the actual story here? Because we have to tell a story. We have to fill in an hour and 20 minutes somehow. So basically what they do is that they make it Infinity War. And the bad guy that I'm going to call Thanos from now on, or Dominic Thanos, he has to go and collect the gemstones. You know the one from the beginning of the movie where it was split in two? So basically, one of them was stored in the Elfdale statue, and the other one was stored in a statue that was built in New York City. And by the way, When they're driving to New York City, the statue is clearly seen by the entrance sign at the entrance of the city, like on the outskirts of the city. But then it's in the middle of like the town square. They obviously did that for a reason, because you need to have your climactic battle in the middle of a city and not by a sign. Continuity, man. I mean, no effort. I don't know why I'm thinking so hard about this. I've honestly thought more about this movie than they did in the 3 months that they wrote, directed, and animated this entire thing. It's ridiculous. Oh my god, this movie sucks! So basically, the villain, Dominic Thanos, he wants to get Barl to open the magic sandbag for him so he can somehow retrieve the gemstones and bring about
Orc domination!
The main bad guy tries to open the bag, he can't, but then Barl has magical powers that, now that I think about it, doesn't really come into play later on in the movie. He doesn't really use his magic to fight off the bad guy. It's really his brother, who was already established to know magic, but then Barl isn't supposed to use magic, and it's kind of cool that he uses magic, and his brother's even surprised that an orc can use magic, and I thought it was going to be a message about, like, hey, we can all use magic, guys. We're all equal here in the eyes of magic. I've seen this movie 4 times now in the last 3 days, and I'm starting to add things that just aren't there. So the 2 bad guys have a meeting, and during the meeting, one of the guys' eyes completely roll out of his head. Look at this. He has no eyes. So then we catch back up with Lloyd, and he runs into a hot dog vendor. And wait a minute. Is that... They used the same character design for Scrap and this random hot dog lady. They just put glasses and a sideways hat like if she was on a 90s sitcom. And oh my god, is that not the most disgusting hot dog you have ever seen in your entire life? So when Barl tries to use the magic sandbag to impress the villain, Dominic Thanos, the bag is empty, and he has to go and get ingredients for it. And they're basically extorting these shop owners, and Barl is completely oblivious to what's happening. He's just standing a couple of feet in front of the guy that's intimidating, and he doesn't even notice. Like, there's no social cue, recognition. There's nothing that tells him that these people are legitimately scared. I mean, look at this guy's face. He's terrified. Well, I mean, I think he's terrified. You got to really look past the horrible, horrible animation. Really look into their dead eyes and see what they're feeling. So Barl finally finds out what's been going on, that they've been basically harassing and extorting these people for the ingredients for the magic sandbag, and he tries to run away. In running away, because there's literally nobody else on this planet for some reason, he runs into Lloyd about 2 seconds later. He was right outside the store. They just didn't see each other, right where the hot dog lady was. And what ensues is one of the most hilariously choreographed and animated fight scenes I have ever seen in my entire life. So they get captured, and Barl is forced to create some sort of concoction, magical potion that makes the bad guy phase through metal. If you have magic, that's the best thing you can come up with. That I want to phase through metal because that's the only thing you've seen him do with magic. Ah! So Lloyd is tied up, and this biker thing is guarding the door while playing a Switch. Product placement. At first I didn't catch this because I was so enthralled by the crazy plot and all the, the little intricacies throughout this entire movie that I didn't realize that he didn't have his sandbag when he escaped when he used magic. So, do you need the sandbag to use magic? Or is it just like... Once again, I'm thinking about this way too hard. Let's just move on. So Barl is in like a lab, and he ends up infusing this slime, which was heavily foreshadowed in the beginning of the movie, with magic. That if you rub it on yourself, you're able to phase through metal, and I'm guessing, magic sandbags and walls and everything, basically. So he gives the slime to Dominic Thanos, and I swear to God, this whole movie fucking ridiculous. He even does like the Thanos power-up thing where he's like, oh! But they figure out that they need to get to Elfdale before Dominic Thanos can get there and get the second gemstone and wipe out half of the universe or bring balance to the Force. I have no idea what he's trying to do. Take over the world. So Dominic Thanos is marching on Elfdale, and basically what the animator did here is that he copied and pasted this one bald guy that was introduced earlier in the movie, and he just copied and pasted him, but just made him his like 12-man army. By the way, one of these guys, they didn't even render a color for him. I mean, look at this. He's just a white, plain character. They forgot to give him color. And coincidentally, graduation is going on at the same time that Dominic Thanos is marching on the school. Then Lloyd tries to break the stone by throwing it on the floor, and it doesn't break. And when I saw that, I was like, oh, okay. There was some thought put into this, because in the beginning of the movie, if you remember, they had to use some magical spell from the ancient time.
Rubicon, Epsilon.
To enchant the axe of an orc princess to be able to break the gemstone in half, just into two pieces. So I'm like, oh, okay, he's going to have to figure out, or even maybe his brother's going to have to figure out how to use magic in order to enchant something to be able to break the stone. But once again, I have thought way too long and hard about this.
That's what she said.
And I forgot about the brilliant foreshadowing of the radioactive slime. You forgot about it too. You forgot about the slime. You thought I forgot about the slime, but I didn't. If you remember, he said that there was still half a barrel left, even after the entire gym was completely flooded. By the way, they did a pretty good job about cleaning it up. So Barl's entire contribution to the final battle with Dominic Thanos is not his use of magic or really anything that they had previously set up as a character trait or something that he was working on. He does a 3-point shot of milk into the slime, causing it to combust or react and just kind of fall all over Dominic Thanos and all over the gym. The slime didn't really do anything. It just kind of distracted him for a minute while his brother casted some sort of ice magical spell. I was expecting him to do like a Mr. Freeze pun.
All right, everyone. Chill. Tonight's forecast. A freeze is coming. Allow me to break the ice.
But no, he kind of just freezes him, and the stone just kind of falls. It just kind of slips out of his hand onto the floor, and it shatters into 1,000,000 pieces. There was no magical spell. The spell was to make the guy into ice, not to break the stone, and it just shatters, and all of the orcs are freed of the mind control of the stone, and everybody lives happily ever after. Everything was fine. It totally wasn't completely messed up for the next couple of generations. By the way, I said earlier, it took 3 months to animate this movie by one guy. In one part of the movie, there's this gorgeous shot of a sky and a moon and clouds, and me and my wife, when we were watching the movie, we both looked at each other, and because of all the horrible animation that we had seen before, looking at the skies in this movie, it's like, wow, somebody actually like worked on this part of the movie. Now, my theory is that somebody was like making their passion project. They were working on these sky animations for like 2.5 months. And then the head guy at Asylum just came in and was like, hey, have you heard about that new Onward movie? We got to make an Onward movie and we got to make it in 2 months. Get it done. And then they had 1 month to write and direct and animate the actual story of this movie. I mean, that's just a theory. I don't know if that's what actually happened. But the sky is beautiful. I mean, just look at this shot. Look at this shot. They're beautiful skies. But then you look at the gymnasium, and he's using every stock shape imaginable. Don't watch this movie. Or watch it. I mean, you can watch it for free on YouTube or on Amazon Prime. By the way, Amazon Prime picked up this movie. Jeff Bezos was like, Disney Plus is Onward? Well, we're going to get Homeward. Didn't become the richest man on the face of the earth just so Disney Plus can run me out with a troll movie. They want a troll movie? We'll give them orcs and elves with a gemstone. Throw an Infinity War in there too. I don't care. And that was Homeward. The worst movie of all time. At least for now.